Welcome to the 8th lecture of the course Metrology and Machine Tools. In this lecture, I will explain about the different work holding devices which are used in the lathe machine. The work holding devices are used to hold and rotate the workpieces along with the spindle. Different work holding devices are used according to the shape, length, diameter, and weight of the workpiece. So, based on the shape and the size of the workpieces, we are going to select the different work holding devices. We'll see some of the work holding devices. Lathe centers or centers, checks, faceplate, driving plate, catch plate, carrier, mandrels, and rests. So these are the some work holding devices which are generally using in the lathe machine to hold the workpieces and to rotate the workpieces. First one, lathe center. It is a lathe accessory. It is used to support a lengthy work to carry out the lathe operation. So this is the lathe center. So this is used to support the lengthy workpieces. So to hold the lengthy workpiece, we are going to hold the workpiece in between the lathe centers, and we can do the operation on the given workpiece. So like this, you can hold the lengthy workpiece in between the two centers. These are the two lathe centers. This is the first one. This is the second one. And this lathe center, you can call it as a live center, and this is called as a dead center. And this one is a workpiece. If you observe this diagram, this one is a workpiece. So this is the workpiece, and this is the mandrels. Here this diagram gives the complete information about the different work holding devices. So we are using the driving plate, carrier, mandrels to hold the workpieces and to rotate the workpieces. So later one by one we will discuss, but here you have to concentrate on the lathe centers. So this is the live center, and this one is the live center, and this one is the dead center. So this center is attached to the spindle, main spindle. So the motion is transferred from main spindle to the lathe center, and lathe center to the workpiece. So this is involving in the rotation. That's why it is called as a live center. And there is no movement in the dead center. So the dead center is inserted into the tailstock, and there is no rotation, rotary movement in the tailstock. So that's why it is called as a dead center. So like this, you can hold the workpiece in between the two centers. So this is the live center, and this one is the dead center. So this is about the lathe centers. And next we will see check. Workpieces of short length, larger diameter, and irregular shapes, which cannot be mounted between the centers, are held quickly and rigidly in the check. So if you observe the lathe center, the main purpose of the lathe centers, which is used to hold the lengthy workpieces. If the length of the workpiece is very short and maybe the diameter is very large, in that case, it is not possible to hold the workpiece by using the lathe center. In that case, we are going to replace the lathe center with the check. So there are different types of checks are there: 3-jaw check, 4-jaw check, magnetic check, colored check, and combination check. These are the classification of the checks. 3-jaw check. The name itself indicates that three jaws. It has the three jaws. So the three jaws fitted in the three slots are made to slide at the same time by an equal amount by rotating any one of the three pinions by a check key. Here we have the three jaws. This is the first jaw, second jaw, and third jaw. So that's why it is called as a three jaw check. Here we are going to place the workpiece. Here we are going to place the workpiece. Here we are going to place the workpiece, and here if you observe the statement, the three slots are made to slide at the same time, at the same time by an equal amount by rotating any one of the three pinions. So it has three jaws. Three jaws contains the three pinions. Here we are going to have the three pinions. This is the first one, and second and third one. Here in the three jaw check, if you want to move these jaws, so we can operate any one of the three keys. If you operate any one of the three keys, the three jaws will be moved at a time, and it will cover same distance. So that's why it is called as a self-centering check. So that means by operating only one key, the three jaws will be moved either towards the center or away from the center. So that's why it is called as a self-centering check. Generally, this type of checks are used to hold the cylindrical objects. Next one is So this is the three jaw check. Here these three jaw check. These are the three jaws. These are the three jaws, and here we have the three. Here, by if you want to operate these three jaws, either you can use any one of the keys. So you can move these jaws towards the center or away from the center at a time. So this is about the three jaw check. Now coming to the four jaw check, it has four jaws. The name itself indicates that it is a four jaw check. It has the four jaws, and here each jaw is moved independently by rotating a screw with the help of check key. So in case of the three jaw check, all the jaws are moved at a time, but here in the each jaw is moved independently. So each jaw, let's see, this is the first jaw, and this is the second, and this one is the third jaw, and this one is the fourth. They had four jaws. Each jaw again similarly, just like the three jaw check, each jaw has one key to operate the jaws. These are the keys. So here, if you want to move this key, if you want to move this jaw, you have to operate this key. By operating this key, either you can move the jaw towards the center or away from the center. So while it is moving, there is no movement in the second jaw. So that means each jaws are moved independently. So that's why it is called as an independent check. So generally this type of checks are used to hold the square or rectangle shapes. So other than the cylindrical shapes. So this is the four jaw check here. These are the four jaws, and if you observe here, so if you observe here, while operating this key, only this jaw is moving. This remaining three jaws are constant. There is no movement in the remaining three jaws. Only this jaw is moving. Either you can move the jaws towards the center or away from the center by operating the respective keys. So that's why it is called as a independent check. Next one is a combination check. A check with jaws that may be moved simultaneously or independently. So generally the combination check has the four jaws. So if you observe here, either you can operate these jaws simultaneously or independently. Simultaneously, just like the three jaw check, and independently, just like the four jaw check. So here the name will come based on the movement of the jaws. Either we can move the jaws simultaneously or independently. That's what it is called as a combination check. Now you can observe here. You can observe by operating a single key, all the four jaws are moving towards the center at a time. All these four jaws are moving towards the center at a time. So it is called as simultaneously you can operate the check. This type of operation you can observe in case of the three jaw check. Is a self-centering check. And on the same jaw, we can move these jaws independently. We can move the jaws independently, just like the four jaw check. So like see, if you operate this key, only this jaw is moving. You can observe only this jaw is moving. Remaining three jaws are, there is no movement in the remaining three jaws. Only this jaw is moving if you operate this key. So that means we can use this combination check as a self-centering check or an independent check. So that's what it is called as a combination check. Next one is a magnetic check. The name itself indicates that it is a magnetic check. That means it uses the magnetic power to hold the workpieces. See, these are the magnets. So this is the magnetic check. By using this key, you can switch on or switch off the magnetic power. Now here, if you observe, you can see how we are going to hold the workpiece. This is a workpiece and this one is the magnetic check. And we are going to hold the workpiece. And we are moving the tailstock for the supporting purpose. And if you switch on the no deformation valve, automatically this workpiece, the no deformation clamp, means we are going to switch on the magnetic power. Automatically, if you switch on the magnetic power, the check will fix, the workpiece is going to be fixed to the check, and you can do the operation. But here, the limitation of this magnetic check is it is used only for the smaller object. That means lower weight object. It can't withstand for the higher weight of the objects. So this is about the magnetic check. Next one is a collet check. Collet check has a cylindrical bushing known as a collet. This is the cylindrical bushing. It is a collet. It is made of spring steel and has slots cut lengthwise on its circumference like this. Here these are the jaws. We can hold the workpiece here. So you can adjust the jaws. This is a spring type. You can observe here. You can hold the workpiece tightly and you can rotate the workpiece. And if you pull out these bushes, automatically the workpiece will be come out from these jaws. We'll see next. This is the color check, and here we are going to place the workpiece and we are going to rotate this sleeve to tight the jaws. Now see how we are going to hold the workpiece by using color. This is the color check. This one is the color check. This is the color check, and we are going to place the. This is a small workpiece. This is a small workpiece because it is not possible to hold the smaller workpieces by using the checks. So if you want to hold the workpiece very tightly by you in the work lathe machine, we are going to use the card. Now you can observe this is a small workpiece. It's a very smaller workpiece. So it is not possible to hold that small workpiece by using the checks. In that case, we are going to use the colored checks. So the colored cursor which is used to hold the very smaller workpieces. Now faceplate. So faceplate is used to hold large, heavy, and irregular shaped workpieces which cannot be conveniently held between the center. Generally, these faceplates are which are used to hold the irregular shapes. If there is no regular shape, it means if it is not a complete cylindrical shape or any rectangle shape, if it is an irregular shape, in that case, we are going to use the faceplate to hold the workpieces. This is a faceplate. These are faceplates, and these are slots are there to hold the workpieces perfectly. And here this is the workpiece. You can observe here. This is the workpiece. This is the workpiece. Now it is not complete. It is not completely cylindrical and complete rectangle. Okay. So it is not possible to hold this type of workpieces in the checks or lathe center. Here at this portion, here at this portion, I want to do some operation. This is the portion. This is the portion. Here I want to do some operation. I want to remove some material from this internal surface of the workpiece. So it is not possible to hold this workpiece by using the checks. In that case, we are going to use the faceplate. So this is the faceplate, and we are going to fix the object and the faceplate by using the lathe centers and all these things, and we can do the operation. Now we'll see how we are going to hold this type of workpieces on the faceplate. Now here, if we fix this object on the faceplate by using the angle plate, and these are used for the these are weights used for the counterbalance. So this is our piece. Then you can rotate the faceplate. The faceplate is fixed to the main spindle, and you can fix the workpiece on the faceplate. Now you can perform the operation. So if any object, if it has irregular shapes, it is not possible to hold that object by using the checks. In that case, you can use the faceplates. By using the faceplate, you can hold any type of objects. Now you can observe this video. Now see, the faceplate is rotating and the workpiece is also rotating. So we can do the operation. Here we are going to remove the material. So this is about the faceplate. And next, driving plate. The driving plate is used to drive a workpiece when it is held between the centers. So this is a driving plate. Here in general, if any workpiece is held in between the center, generally when we are going to use the centers are used to hold the long length workpieces. While you holding the long length workpieces, maybe if the generally the motion is transferred from headstock to head spindle and spindle to live center and live center to the workpiece. So when the workpiece is moving, when that means when the spindle is moving, automatically the workpiece is going to be rotated. So here to hold the workpiece properly, perfectly, without skipping, so we are going to use the driving plate. This is about in general the driving plate is which is used along with the lathe dogs. So next we will see what is the lathe dog. Next, catch plate. So when a workpiece is held between the centers, the catch plate is used to drive it. So the face plate, driving plate, catch plate, the purpose of these two are same, which is used to hold the long length. That means to rotate the long length workpieces along with the lathe dogs. Next one is the carrier, or you can call it as a lathe dogs. Carriers are useful in transmitting the driving force of a spindle to the work by means of driving plates and catch plates. Here, these are the carriers which are used to transfer the motion from the spindle to the workpiece. Spindle to the workpiece. So this is the straight type, and this one is a bent type carriers. You can call it as a lathe carrier. So the name why you can call it as a carrier means here generally if you see the how the power is transferred, how the power transmission takes place in the lathe machine, generally the power will transfer from the motor to the gear shaft, and from that will go for the headstock to the spindle, and spindle to the check, and check to the workpiece. Here if the, let's see here, when the when you are holding the workpiece in between the centers, so and this is the driving plate, when the spindle is rotating, driving plate also rotates. If the driving plate rotates, lathe center will rotate. When the lathe center will rotate, automatically workpiece is going to be rotated. So that means the workpiece is going to be held in between the two lathe centers. So when the lathe center rotates, automatically workpiece is going to be rotating. To transfer the motion from the lathe center to the workpiece without losing any energy, we are going to use the lathe dog. That way it is called as a carrier. So if you are not using this carrier, automatically if the lathe center moves some 500 rpm, the workpiece may not rotate with the same 500 rpm. Maybe the workpiece is going to be skip. So to avoid that skipping, to avoid the loss of energy, loss of motion from lathe center to the workpiece, we are going to use the lathe dog. That's what it is called as a carrier. It carries the motion from headstock, spindle, or lathe center to the workpiece. Next one is the mandrels. So lathe mandrels are devices which are used to hold the job for machining on the lathes. They are mainly used for machining outside diameters with reference to the bores which have been duly finished by either reaming or boring on the lathe. So in generally the checks and the lathe centers and catch plate and drive, all these are used to hold the solid objects. But if you want to do some work on the external surface of the any hollow surfaces, for example, if you go for the hollow shaft, so if you want to do some operation on the external surfaces, how we are going to hold that hollow shaft? How we are, let's say if I take any gear, so if I want to do some operation on the external surface of the gear, how we are going to hold that gear? That means it is device. And here if you see, for the mainly used for machining outside diameters with reference to the bores. So there are different types of mandrels are there: plain mandrels, gang mandrel, screwed mandrel. So first one, plain mandrel. So this is a plain mandrel. The body of the plain mandrel is slightly tapered to provide the proper gripping of the workpiece. This is a plain mandrel. It is generally taper. Here on this external surface of the plain mandrel, we are going to place our workpiece. Let's see here. This is our workpiece. So it has some hole. So we want to do some operation on the external surface. This type of workpiece is not possible to hold by using checks or centers. So here we are going to place this workpiece on the plain mandrel. This is a plain mandrel. We are going to insert this mandrel inside the workpiece to get the tight fit. So the in generally the plain mandrel will be at a taper around 1 to 2 mm for a length of 100 mm. It is a tapered surface. We are going to insert the workpiece. Because it is a taper, while it is moving from one end to the other end of the plain mandrel, we will get the tight fit. Now you can observe this is the plain mandrel. This is a plain mandrel and this one is the workpiece. If you observe here, this is the plain mandrel and this one is the workpiece, and this is the plain mandrel. So when the plain mandrel is workpiece is going to be attached to the plain mandrel. If the mandrel rotates, automatically workpiece is going to be rotated. Like this, you can hold the workpieces with as the bores or holes. This is about the plain mandrel. And next one is the gang mandrel. It has a fixed collar at one end and a movable collar at the threaded end. Let's see if you observe this mandrel here. So this is the mandrel, this is the fixed collar, and this is the open end. This is a you can call it as a threaded open end, and this is a nut, and this is a movable collar. Gangman, the name itself, it is a gang. By using the plain mandrel, we can hold only at a time only one workpiece. But here, by using this gang mandrel, we can hold three workpieces. If you observe, this is the first workpiece, and this is the second one, and this one is the third one. So you can hold the three workpieces at a time. To get the tight fit, we are going to insert the three workpieces on the gang mandrel, and we are going to insert one movable collar, and we will fix these workpieces in between the fixed collar and movable collar by using the nut to get the tight fit. So like this, you can hold the more than one object by using the gang mandrel. Let's see here, this is a gang mandrel, and this is a one workpiece, and next one is we are going to insert another workpiece. So here we are going to place this object, okay, now to make a distance between the two workpieces. Either you can fix the workpieces perfectly, or you can make some difference. You can make some gap between the two workpieces to get the tight fit. We are going to insert nut to get the tight fit. So like this, you can hold the two or more than two objects by using the gang mandrels. So next one, screwed mandrel. So workpieces having internal threads are screwed on to against the collar for a machining. So if any workpiece, it has the internal threadings. Let's say for example, we will take this some nut or bolt. You're going to take some bolt or nut. Let's say I'm going to take the one example of nut. If you want to do some operation on the external surface of the nut, so nut means it has some internal threading. So to do some operation on the external surface of the nut, so first of all, you have to hold the workpiece. To hold the workpiece, so we are going to use the threaded mandrel, and this already has some threads, and this we are going to place the nut. And coming to the rests, a rest is a mechanical device to support long slender workpiece when it is turned between the centers or by a check. These are used to support the workpieces. These rests are used to support the workpieces. There are two types of rest: follower rest and steady rest. Steady rest. It may be made to slide on the lathe bedways and clamped at any desired position where the workpiece needs to support. Let's see here, this is called as a steady rest. Here we are going to place the workpiece. Generally these devices are used for the supporting purpose. We'll see next one. Let's see. So this is the one hollow object. We are going to do some operation on this one. We fix this object in the check. So while it is moving automatically at this end, we may observe some vibrations of the workpiece. So to avoid that vibrations and to get the support to hold for the workpieces at the other end, we are going to place the rest. So here we can fix this rest. Let's see here where the object is fixed in between the rest. So the steady rest means the rest is fixed at a given position. It will not move. You can adjust it anywhere, but once if you fix the rest, so we can't move the position of the rest. So we can hold the workpiece. So that's why it is called as a supporting purpose. We can call it as a supporting device also. So like this, you can support the workpiece by using the rest. We can do the operation. So this is for the supporting purpose. Next, follower rest. The name itself indicates that it follows. During machining, it supports the workpiece and moves with the carriage. This is the workpiece, and these are the jaws, and this is a cutting tool. So it will move along with the carriage, because the cutting tool is going to be placed on the carriage. If you want to remove the material, we are going to move the cutting tool along the surface of the workpiece. Along this cutting tool, this follower rest is also moves. That's why it is called as a follower rest. It follows the cutting tool. See this one. This is the workpiece, long length workpiece, and this is a cutting tool. So this is a follower rest. If you observe, we are moving the cutting tool, Along the cutting tool, the follow the rest also moves. So is placed on the carriage and it is moving along the cutting tool. It follows the workpiece or cutting tool. So this is about the follower rest. So this is about the work holding devices.